So thank you everybody for being on this call and for listening to what we're about to do in Puerto Rico. As Breedlove mentioned, I actually launched the GoFundMe campaign exactly today. We're trying to create more bossing and more, people to get more involved with the project. For those who, to introduce myself, I've brought 2 art installations to Burning Man starting in 2015 with God Frame. I framed myself perfectly to show you guys my 2 art installations. So God Frame was my first art installation at Burning Man in 2015 and 2016. And then last year we brought Mucaro, the giant 32 feet tall owl to the playa. And thank you, those thumbs up. So that piece was a beautiful journey by itself, and creating it with a community here in Los Angeles. And when I returned from so we returned from the playa, and just exactly 15 days later after we returned from the playa, I'm ready to start sharing the great news with Puerto Rico and excited about the whole thing. And then the hurricanes happened in Puerto Rico. So all my plans kind of started changing, priorities started to change. And one thing that I really wanted to do is that the fact that to give you a little bit more story, I actually helped a community here in Los Angeles collect some donations that I brought to Puerto Rico during the time that was happening, the whole hurricane and the whole chaos was happening. And I was able to drive around the island when there was no electricity, when there was chaos, and the whole donation part of it. And when I returned, I was very eager to try to do something new and something wonderful for the island. And I thought to myself, well, let me apply for the Burning Man art grant, the global one as well, because I already had gotten the honorarium. Let me see what happens if I decide to do basically rise from the ashes Mucaro and create one in Puerto Rico as well. To the delight of everybody, I got the grant, the global grant through Burning Man. And here now, after be receiving it, we've been having the reason why it's taking so long to finally get to this point where we're launching the program or launching the project is because I live in Los Angeles, and to create all these connections and create all this contacts in Puerto Rico has been just a little bit more challenging than what I expected. But to the delight of myself and my team, this last November, I went back to Puerto Rico and we locked a location in Puerto Rico, in the town of Loíza. We can move to the next slide, Breedlove. So the mission on this case of the woody owl is that we want to come back to Puerto Rico and create a new space for the people in Puerto Rico to create this project with me. The one thing that I realized that was so gratifying to me and to my team was that as we created the Mucaro that went to Burning Man, there was a huge sense of everybody felt like they were accomplishing something, that they were creating something. Yes, it was my project, but it was our project, not, you start losing ownership, because then instead of becoming my project is our project. And the one thing that I would love to be able to create in Puerto Rico is that same sense of if I share this project with Puerto Rico and with the people in Puerto Rico and the community in Puerto Rico, let's give them some ownership. And by creating that ownership, hopefully my point is that I'd like to use that as our mission to create that kind of knowledge and create that kind of world for Burning Man and Puerto Rico to collide together, the same kind of principles that we're all familiar with, then just start creating it in somewhere completely different. to a back note about it, Puerto Rico didn't know about Burning Man. I think they started knowing about Burning Man in the last 2 or 3 years. It hasn't been something that it was like in people's mind or in people's schedule. Now it has become a little bit more something that everybody knows as we as evolve in the community, and also in society. But anyway, so the idea is to create this space for people to explore, to be creative, and educate them about sustainable energy. One of the things that happened to me was that as I went to Puerto Rico, I saw that a lot of people are still attached to gas and generators and things in that kind of aspect. And I personally feel that it's all about knowledge and sharing the knowledge of the fact that there's other options besides gas, and there's other options besides, having to take care of a generator that is not meant to work 24/7 for 6 months in a day, but 24/7 for 6 months. This, we know that generators are meant to actually just for emergency cases, or in our case, 1 week of Burning Man. So we can move to the next slide, beloved. So in this case, the new physical description of the piece is 22 feet tall. To give you a gauge of the difference, the one that we made at Burning Man was 32 feet tall. So we minus 10 feet on this version that is going to come to the island. The exterior of the of the actual, like what we call the feathers. We're going to look around Puerto Rico for any kind of devastation, trees that are fallen, that they're still there because they're still there a year later, believe it or not, and just repurpose them. The interior will be hollow, so instead of, for those who experience Mucaro on the playa, there was an entrance from one of the wings. In this case, there's going to be 2 entrances because there's not going to be any kind of climbing. We removed the part about climbing all the way to the head for liability purposes. We're not a Burning Man anymore. We're actually, and there's going to be a lot of children around this particular location. And I'll explain that in a moment about the foundation, the place that we're located. And then the head, the idea that we want to keep that aspect of the head that rotates. So it probably will be like a telescope kind of situation from the bottom, the ground level, that will move the head on top. Next slide, please. So the community service benefits of this case is that, we were trying to share with them that art matters. We know that it matters. It does change your mood and enhances our environment. I like the idea to also transport people in Puerto Rico to stop talking up. I just went in this last November, and people still talking about the hurricane. It's a topic that does not stop. It's been a year later, and even on our flight from Fort Lauderdale to Puerto Rico, there were 2 ladies talking right behind me about where they were at the moment of the hurricane. So one of the things that I like to do is to create a space where we can transport people to a different kind of environment and a different kind of place, give them a little bit more of a positive aspect of like what can be done with the devastation, and recycle this trash in matter of fact, and also at the same time learn about sustainable energy. So like, in the PowerPoint, our goal is to create beauty out of wreckage and art out of rubble. And again, I can't do this alone, and I hope that, by this conversation that I'm having here with Burners Without Borders, which I'm very happy and honored to be part of it, it's like, I really think that all together we can actually make a difference. Next one we have. So the aspects of the project interactivity is like one thing that we like to do is to collaborate with nonprofit organizations and businesses that are interested in sharing their knowledge about sustainable energy in the island with the community in the town of Loíza, and that hopefully through Loíza being the first town that we're going to be sharing this information, my hopes are that it continues to trickle down to the rest of the island. One thing I also noticed is that a lot of the knowledge or a lot of the benefits stayed in the town of San Juan, or the municipal of San Juan, and probably Oscar after me might, have more information about that. So I'm really hoping to, instead of creating, like a lot of people say, why are you not creating it in San Juan, the capital? I believe personally that I'd like to go to a community where it's needed the most. What happens in San Juan is like most of the help gets to San Juan, and by the time it trickles down to the rest of the island, what other towns are getting are just the leftovers from San Juan. And so one of the things, that's why I wanted to make this project not in San Juan, and to go to like where it might be needed the most. In that case, then we'd like to invite schools to participate in our program. And even one of the things that I talked to the location is I would like to make a day where we're building, where we are going to invite children to come and help us. It will be a light day, so it will be not cutting wood or hammer or anything like that. Something really a little simple to involve also the children in the community. But at the same time, by educating them about building, construction, and sustainable options. I mentioned already about the large wheel that will be attached to the bottom to create that whole 360 effect, to create a more interactive idea. Then we have, the idea is to, just like we do a Burning Man, and just like I did with Mucaro here, create a volunteer system in the island where we can actually create and develop like a pavilion where we can give them some sense of ownership. Go ahead, next one. Our location that I was able to lock was at the Ricky Martin Foundation Centro Tao in Loíza. It will be a permanent location, permanent installation in the town of Loíza. The actual foundation it's committed to empower and preventing engagement for the children and youth. And it's an organization that is committed to creating a better future for our youth. So I thought it will be a very cool, amazing alliance with this, this group. Next one, please. Then we have a fiscal nonprofit organization attached to our program, and it's about, I'm collaborating with Rucus Roots, which is an LA-based nonprofit organization where I have done mentoring as an art teacher to them, and we create, basically from trash, we create art. So I thought it would be a really cool thing to bring it on. Next one, please. Like I mentioned in the beginning, we launched today the GoFundMe campaign. It's called GoFundMe Mucaro for Puerto Rico. And in this specific slide, you can see some of the devastation and some of the what happened in Puerto Rico. And part of while I was there helping with the donations. And if you want to see the one on the far left down, that's actually the roof of a basketball court that was twisted like that by the winds. We can go to the next one. How to get involved. We're looking for sponsorship. We're looking for nonprofit organizations, businesses that like to be part of this endeavor. How can you, volunteering. Would love to share our story, crowdfunding. If there is anybody that is really good at this kind of stuff, please, by all means, step forward. if anybody ends in the island, as of right now, we're pitching to be there in May for the actual construction and building. If you're there, do you have any kind of manual labor experience, heavy equipment operators, that kind of stuff we're gonna need while we're in the island. In-kind donations, as much as I would love to be receiving things here in Los Angeles, I think that the idea is to also go spend some money in the island to help their economy. And then we continue on, and thank you. All right, I actually did it. Thank you very much for your time and for letting me share this project with you. Okay. Well, I mean, if anybody is interested in getting more information, I should have mentioned that we have our website, leaveittonino.com, explains the project in more detail. I just gave you some notes and points, and also in the GoFundMe, we have a video to share. We have more information there and all the benefits of this project and why it's so important to bring it into the island right at this moment in time.